Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Director's Cut from writer-director Don Capria. Director's Cut is a throwback of sorts, a throwback to the early 2000s. It's a torture film, but with a metalsploitation twist. It's about a metal band that goes out to the middle of nowhere to this abandoned, I guess you could call it mansion, to film a music video, only to be at the mercy of some crazy man named Mr. Director, who they hired to direct this music video, and are tortured and killed one by one.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since torture movies were a thing, so I was like, okay, I'm down with that, and I'm also a big metalsploitation fan, so I'm down for watching one about a rock band or a metal band dealing with that sort of situation. But unfortunately, the last third loses a ton of steam fast.
Whoa, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For a couple reasons, one of which is there's this dangling thread that is just kind of left open and is unexplained.
Yeah.
For reasons I don't understand, it doesn't really add anything to the movie, and so you're just like, why was that there? Without you explaining this, it just feels like an excuse to, like, fuck over the characters earlier in the movie.
Yeah, well, it's also real dumb, because if you weren't going to do anything with this, couldn't you have just cut it out?
Yeah. Another thing I didn't really care for with this movie is the bookend element. The movie bookends with this footage of a website. And while the footage of the website does explain some elements of the movie, the bookend is really confusing because the first one you see is like, this is the last footage of the band. They were never seen again kind of things. So it's kind of like the opening of like the Blair Witch Project or something.
Yeah, so you think, oh, is this going to be like found footage movie?
So you think it's going to be a found footage movie. And then
it isn't.
It isn't. It's just a straight up movie. And so you're like, okay. And then you get the bookend at the end that shows you the footage that was on that thing. But it's just a weird editing choice. I didn't really care for that.
No.
I didn't really care for that. But that wasn't enough to ruin the movie. We'll talk more about like what really kind of ruined the movie in the spoiler section, because most of it is in the spoiler territory.
Yeah. There's a particular moment in the movie where one line is said and everything before this line is said is good. Everything after this line is said, it fucking is awful.
Now, one thing I do want to make clear, they do set up where they eventually go at the end of the movie, with the exception of that one loose thread. I just didn't care for that being the direction the movie went, to be completely honest.
Me neither.
I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of a boring direction, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's not a Saw.
Yeah.
It's not a Hostel.
That being said, unlike a lot of those early torture films, like the early Saw films or whatever, the acting in this movie is pretty good. Overall, the characters give very realistic and raw performances.
Yeah.
One of the things I actually did like about this movie, at least for the first 2/3 of the movie, was that the band in the movie felt like every garage band I ever knew growing up.
Yeah, it was every band about to like just come apart at the seams.
Exactly. They're either gonna get their lucky break and like spring into stardom, or they're just gonna fall apart because they're at their last straw.
Yeah.
The arguments the characters have at the beginning of the movie when they're arguing over whether to shoot this new music video, to record new music, or to go out on tour felt very much like all the arguments I heard in my friends' garages growing up. So that stuff I really liked, and the characters, the archetypes for each band member felt like someone I knew growing up.
Yes.
Especially, I fucking love the character of Menace, the like badass chick
the lesbian
bassist.
bass player.
Yeah, she was great. She was freaking awesome. But I also knew people that were like the singer.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who's kind of like the overly masculine frontman character, but is also kind of an emo bitch boy behind the scenes.
Yes.
The movie justifies him being that way by having them still dealing with the death of a friend that happened relatively recently.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, because that becomes very important as the movie goes on. From a writing standpoint, something I also liked was I liked at the beginning how you as the audience member are constantly shifting who you agree with.
Yes.
At the beginning, when the band's arguing with the singer about shooting the music video, and the singer's just like, we should shoot the music video, we should not do this other stuff, we should record new music, whatever. And the band's arguing, no, we should go on tour, sell some merchandise, get some money, and then we can put it towards the new album, and yada, yada, yada. I was sitting there going, like, I kind of agree with the rest of the band.
Yeah, I agree with, you agree with the band, because
I feel like that's probably a better use of your time, and you can record the music video when you get back after you've saved some money from doing all the merchandising that you guys are planning on doing. That seems like a very smart move, especially since I get the impression that this band does have somewhat of a following. They're not complete failures.
Yeah.
They just haven't reached mainstream success yet.
Correct.
but they've at least maintained
They've got local success.
Exactly. Enough to keep them afloat for now. But then when the band ends up at the location and Mr. Director starts to prove to be an abusive asshole, and the singer's just like, let's leave. I was on the singer's side. Yeah,
you're on his side. You're like, I don't care if this guy's being a bitch. He's right. Yeah. You gotta get fuck out of here.
When the rest of the band at that point is just like, well, we're here, we brought all our stuff, we should film it anyway. I'm like, no, he just hit the singer. Don't fucking work with a guy that's attacking you like that. Fuck that. Yeah. What's he gonna do when it gets really stressful and you're in the middle of filming, right?
Like even if he wasn't a psycho killer, within 5 minutes of meeting this guy, I'm like, this guy comes off like the kind of guy you're not gonna get the film from.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. He's gonna screw you over. He seems like a used car salesman from the beginning.
Yes.
He has a little moment where he opens up a little bit when they first arrive, but then immediately after that, he's a complete piece of shit. Now, granted, from their perspective, they also feel like that might have been something they brought on themselves because they played this prank on him really early on, but the prank does not justify some of the actions he takes.
No.
And this is before
the killing starts.
Yeah, this is before the torture and the murder takes place. But I did like the writing and all that stuff. I liked as an audience member going like, I agree with the singer here. No, I don't agree with the singer here. I like that flipping of allegiances. That was some good writing, to be honest. It also felt like very real things that band members would worry about. Like, oh, we spent all this money to get here to shoot this video. Yeah. We might as well finish it, right? Like, I get it. The other thing I really liked about this movie is that the killer has this trans bodyguard.
His henchman.
I think her name is like Babs in the movie.
Yeah, Babs.
She's probably one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yes.
She's just the muscle that he uses to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, and she's totally like Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS. Yeah. Like kind of character.
It was one of those, I want more of her. I need more Babs.
Yeah.
She's great. I also love like the humorous dialogue where he just keeps having to remind them her pronouns, even though they aren't misgendering her. He's just like overcorrecting as
he just overcorrects, you know? She, her. Okay, her.
It was one of those character traits that made Mr. Director, as much of a piece of shit as he is at the beginning, somewhat likable.
Well, yeah, because you're just sort of like, this is the weirdness that makes him interesting.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I also appreciate a movie that supports trans people even when the trans people are trans murderers. Hashtag support trans crimes. It's just unfortunate that once you get to the third act and the movie starts explaining itself, once that one line is said that we'll talk about later, it just starts to go, all the steam's let out. Then from that point, the movie never really picks it up again.
No, it never recovers.
No.
It never recovers.
So if you'd like to see Director's Cut, do not mistake it for the Penn Jillette film from 2016, which was a pretty good movie in its own right, but that's a very different Director's
movie cut. Called Director's Cut. Yeah.
This movie is the 2025 Director's Cut. We watched it on demand, so pick your poison and enjoy. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers so we can talk about the parts of the movie that we didn't care about very much. So here we go.
When it comes down time for the bad guy to explain why he's doing this and all that stuff and how it obviously connects to the dead friend.
Yeah, because the dead friend is a thing that they're hanging over the audience throughout the entire movie because everyone's referencing this dead friend, everyone's blaming each other for the dead friend, but no one's saying what happened to the dead friend.
Right, and the line is, you gave her fentanyl.
And that's the moment where the movie just like deflated for me.
Really?
So the idea is the bookends of the movie imply that Mr. Director runs a revenge-based website. They are hired to get revenge on people for whatever reason. So someone hired Mr. Director and his partner, Babs, as well as a third person who is the thing that's kind of dangled at the end of the movie without explaining.
Throughout the movie, there is like this mysterious third figure.
In a plastic bag.
Yeah, in a plastic bag that just like shows the fuck up, you know, in the background.
Yeah. The character only really appears in order to stop the main characters from succeeding at something they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then disappears and then is never explained.
Yeah, and you're like, well, who's that?
And my problem is I understand that sometimes when you're making a movie, you want to leave some things open to interpretation to the audience and leave some sort of unknown for the audience to chew on. But my problem with this is it just felt like a way for the writer to write themselves out of the corner of the characters escaping.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it felt like to me. It felt like a cheat.
Yeah, it did feel like a cheat. It felt like a massive cheat because it was like, if you didn't have a satisfactory answer for it, it would have been easy enough to cut that character completely out of the fucking scenario.
It would have been less of a cheat for me if just Babs teleported like Jason Voorhees.
I know. I know. You've been like, oh, okay, she just moves fast. All right.
But it is what it is. I did not like that wasn't explained at the end of the movie. But anyway, the bookends imply that they're part of this website, this revenge website. And the thing that happens at the end of the movie is you see the footage that they recorded of the music video, because one of the things they do when they're killing people is they have them perform their part of the music video and then kill them in some sort of way.
Yeah.
One guy is doused with acid. Another guy is put in this harness and then is slowly bled out by being cut to death. Someone's beaten by a baseball bat. Someone gets a pipe jammed down their throat, pumps air in them so they stay alive, but they're like crucified.
Yeah.
It's some gnarly torture shit, which I was down for that. That stuff I was okay with and I liked, and they had some gnarly practical effects with it. But I guess like at the end of the movie, they finally show, oh, this is the actual footage we were talking about, and it's the footage from those music videos.
Yeah.
But I almost wish they didn't open with that first thing because it set me up for a movie I was not going to get.
It was completely unnecessary.
The other thing I didn't like about this is that the movie does some Saw-style flashy transitions in between scenes. And whenever it did that, it always cut to these like occult symbols and shit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but they have nothing to do with anything.
They have nothing to do with anything unless they're just supposed to be like symbols of the band or something. I don't know. But like, I thought like, oh, is this going to be some sort of like ritual? Like at the end of the movie.
Is he going to summon a demon at the end? Like, what's going to happen?
Are they going to go full Metasploitation at the end? And Mr. Director is like doing this to summon some sort of demon by sacrificing this metal band.
Yeah.
Which is very much what a lot of Metasploitation movies would do.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, why are we doing this if it doesn't lead up to anything?
And I understand it wasn't that kind of stupid movie leading up to that, so it probably wasn't going to go necessarily in that direction, but I would have preferred that conclusion than the one we got.
Well, you would have at least wanted it to be like he was like an evil Satanist or something, even if there was no actual demon.
Exactly.
You know?
There's a point in the movie in which the character like falls out of a window and then starts running in slow motion, and it hangs on them running on slow motion for a long time that you're expecting something's going to happen at the end of the shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. They just make it to the church and like get out.
Yeah.
And so it felt like delayed gratification for nothing.
Yeah. Oh God, that line.
The fentanyl line.
Fentanyl. You gave her fentanyl. Look, I don't know how to say it. Like, the movie ends very, very poorly. And it made me sad.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
Yeah. That's basically it.
That's it.
That's it. That's the movie.
Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube, where I stream every weeknight starting at around 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you should fucking join me because we talk about all sorts of groovy things like horror movies, mythology, Satan. Mm-hmm. And how about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on various social media platforms, but these days I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages, and remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, be sure to comment below. I want you to comment below. Please comment below using the hashtag trans crimes. Use the hashtag trans crimes. That way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you
support trans rights and trans wrongs.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.